Thank you. We all have secrets that kill us a little inside. Wishful thinking is the thing that saved me. Now, when most people meet me, they immediately gather that I was a precocious child. In fact, folks would always describe me as an old soul, and actually not much has changed. When I think about why I was born this way, I think perhaps it's because my mother was grieving the death of my brother while I was in her womb. He had drowned in a swimming pool accident, and I guess I just came into the world with an innate understanding of suffering and wishing things had been different. The transfer of my mother's grief to my developing mind and body really was the beginning of my journey of suffering and adversity. By the time I was 5 years old, I was regularly being exposed to pornography in all forms by a family member, and I was being sexually abused by a close family friend. I was too young to understand how those experiences would impact me for the rest of my life. The sexual abuse continued into my teens, and it totally distorted my understanding of boundaries and self-worth. By the time I was in high school, I had been raped for the first time, and by the time I was in college, I had been raped by various men multiple times. I couldn't understand why I kept ending up in the same situation. Now, I came up in a time where a woman or a girl being raped was her fault. And the thing about sexual abuse and rape is that you dissociate so that you can escape the trauma that you're enduring. I would always focus on surviving. The last time I was raped, I was in college. A friend of mine who lived out of town invited me to accompany her to visit her family. And so I was really excited because it was going to be the first time that I was going out of town by myself. I was 16 at the time. When we arrived to her family's home, we quickly settled in and we made plans to go out and have fun. And she wanted to reunite with her boyfriend, so she left me with her boy's friend. Now, cell phones weren't widely used yet, but pagers were on their way out. She said we would meet up afterwards, and I was like, okay. So her boy's friend drove me back to his place where his intentions became clear. Now, here I am in this man's house, and he was a man. And I don't know my friend's family's phone number or their address. I have no way of getting in touch with my friend. I don't know where I am. I don't know in which direction to run if I can even make it out of the house. And I don't know if this man has weapons and what he's capable of if I fight back. I start running through the algorithms like, where is my highest chance of survival? How can I make it back to my friend with the least physical harm? And so he begins. I close my eyes, and I think about what my life could look like if I could just be free of the pain of right now. If I could just be free of the pain that I'd been carrying around, free from the bullying throughout my primary and secondary education, free from the girls that tortured me in high school simply because I existed, free from the 3 boys who used to chase me around the playground at recess time in elementary school to touch my rear, to which the recess aide would respond to my complaints that I should just sit down and stop running so that they couldn't touch that part of my body. I would retreat to the safe space of my imagination where I knew I was meant for more, that I had a greater purpose, and that all my dreams were possible. I would think of all the things that I could be, like I always had as a child, where I wasn't cutting myself and mutilating my body to numb the pain and being labeled with wanting attention. When it was over, I knew that I survived. I mentioned that I was 16 years old when I was in college. This is because I was a bright child full of creativity. Of course, I was much younger than most of my peers at this time, but it became apparent to those around me that I excelled at what I put my mind to. I have my dad to thank for that. He was a former Marine and a retired cop by the time I was born, and a stay-at-home dad. He taught me most everything I needed to know about life and leadership by the time I was 5. He drilled into me the power of my mind and my thoughts. I ended up skipping 2 grades, and before you know it, I was off to college. Other than the self-harm, the constant suspensions, and the 2 years of involuntary inpatient-outpatient treatment, you never know that anything was wrong with me. It took me well into my adulthood to disclose to my parents what had happened to me. At the conclusion of my first semester in college, I was on academic probation and I had a 1-point-something GPA. Yeah. And because I tend to take the path of most resistance, things are about to get tougher because I have news for my parents. I am pregnant. Surprise. Now, my father wasn't much in the picture at this point anymore, but my mother and my half-sister were devastated and furious. Naturally, they wanted me to have an abortion. They ran through all the reasons why I was going to ruin my life if I kept my child, and then they ran through all the reasons that I would ruin my child's life. My half-sister recounted the agreement that we made and all of the conversations about what we would do if I ever ended up in this situation. My mother reminded me that no man wants a woman with a history. My mother would burst into my room every morning for the first few days yelling, "Well, what are you gonna do?" And I would respond that I was keeping the baby, and she would storm off in a fury. When I got pregnant, I resorted to doing what I had always done to survive. I closed my eyes and I thought about what my life could look like if I could just be free of the pain of right now, if I could just be free of the pain that I'd been carrying around. What is my purpose? And how can I fulfill it? And I knew that I needed to keep my child. The only way for me to describe it is that I felt absolutely compelled to honor what I was being told to do. Something told me that it would be my only chance to birth a child. It would come to pass that I would have to have a complete hysterectomy at 26 years old after 3 years of induced menopause as a result of severe endometriosis. Now, there was no way for my mom to know what I somehow knew through deep knowing. Her fear got the better of her, and she made some decisions that she hasn't still yet made peace with. My half-sister, who is 19 years older than me, she had her own family and 2 young children, and she didn't want a teen mom around influencing her kids. By the time my mom came full circle and accepted that I was gonna raise my daughter, my half-sister cut us both off, and we're still estranged to this day. I knew that the journey wouldn't be easy, but I never could have imagined what homelessness felt like. Feeding myself and my daughter out of trash cans, surviving domestic abuse and nearly losing my life, the exhaustion from working multiple odd jobs to make ends meet, making incredibly tough decisions that put my daughter in harm's way so that I could pay the bills and put food on the table, and the intimate pain and struggle and joy of loving a tiny human more than you love yourself, and your willingness to do whatever it takes to protect them, including sacrificing your own life and your reputation. And while I couldn't imagine the adversity that I would have to face and overcome, I could imagine all that I believed I was capable of and destined for. So many times, I would resort to doing what I always did to get through. I would close my eyes and I would think about what my life could look like if I could just be free of the pain of right now, if I could just be free of the pain that I'd been carrying around. I would retreat to the safe space of my imagination where I knew I was meant for more, that I had a greater purpose, and that all my dreams were possible. I would think of all the things that I could be, like I always had when I was a child, where I wasn't cutting myself and mutilating my body to numb the pain and being labeled with wanting attention. I did return to school. I never lost sight of the importance of my education. I have my mom to thank for that. I enrolled at the local community college, and I am so thankful for the faculty there, like my business professor who allowed me to nurse my daughter in the back of the classroom. I returned here where folks like Dean Olivia White made sure that I knew that I would not become a victim of my circumstances. The more and more I closed my eyes and I thought about my innermost desires and dreams, the more they came true. The adversity fueled my wishful thinking to the point where now I'm like, you know what? Bring it on. Obstacles, suffering, adversity. They're my dear friends. We go way back. They led me to wishful thinking, which led me to wishful doing. My mom was wrong, And I'm happy about that. Sometimes parents are wrong. And I met the most incredible husband and life partner. And if I may say so myself, we raised a brilliant human being together. I earned my bachelor's degree. I built a successful career in higher education. I completed my master's degree. I earned my doctorate, and I even started a company. And it all began with wishful thinking. Whether it was wishful thinking to escape trauma or pain, or becoming who I thought I could be, or envisioning the life of what I thought a successful person looked like who had it all, everything that I've been able to accomplish through all of the adversity that I have faced and overcome is because of wishful thinking. Now, we've all engaged in a little wishful thinking here and there, right? And the issue is that wishful thinking gets a bad rap, and this is because we think this is where it all ends. Whenever we or someone else thinks about something, dreams, goals that we think are seemingly impossible to achieve, our thinking is relegated to being wishful, and further, it's reduced to being a waste of time. And that's simply not true. Wishful thinking isn't where things end. It's where it all begins. By tapping into our imagination, nurturing our creativity, and honoring who we are meant to become by fulfilling our purpose, we can transcend wishful thinking to wishful doing. Now, here's the problem. We underestimate the power of our thoughts. So the greater the distance between our current existence and where we want to be, the higher the likelihood that our wishful thinking is deemed as, of course, wishful. And what's worse is when our dreams become laughing matter, their demise can be accelerated unless we are resilient and have fortitude. Overcoming adversity teaches us those things and those skills. In order to avoid the premature demise of our dreams, two things. One, do not share your wishful thinking with the wrong people. Two, timing also matters because your nascent dreams can evaporate if you share your wishful thinking with others too soon. Understand that wishful thinking is the earliest, most premature state of your dreams, and they're extremely fragile. Think of wishful thinking as your dreams at conception. They must be protected if they are to come to fruition. Otherwise, they can easily be extinguished by you or others. Now, I want to take a second to let you know that I have come to the realization and accepted that understanding and teaching how to transcend wishful thinking to wishful doing is my purpose. In fact, I've gotten so good at it that my reputation precedes me. Frankly, I am known for getting shit done in my professional and my personal life, and for the most part, it's a good thing, although it could be debated depending on who you ask, and specifically, I'm thinking about my family who happens to be in the audience. And they will tell you that they are terrified of sharing their thoughts with me because they know that I can actually make their thoughts a reality. It doesn't matter what it is, from the mundane to the fantastical, you name it, and I will make it happen. It's actually really bad. Or good, again, depending on your perspective. I just want to say I'm really appreciative to them because I really like them. I think they're kind of cool and I want them to stick around. So thank you, fam. Now, I want to share with you one of my favorite quotes. It is by the Haitian expressionist artist Jean-Michel Basquiat, and it goes, "It is not who you are that holds you back. It is who you think you're not." And the operative word here is think. Transcending wishful thinking to wishful doing is grounded in your power to manifest your thoughts, your dreams, and your goals. Now, I'm sure that you realize, I hope, that you are powerful beyond measure. See, I know that you have the capacity to make dreams come true, and not just yours, but also the dreams of others. You are full of limitless potential, and you can transform vision into reality. I also recognize that right now you might be thinking, yeah. If it were that easy, I would have been done everything on my to-do list, and then some. You don't know me or my dreams. And I will say that that is fair. Yeah, that's fair. I don't know you or your dreams, but let me share with you what I know and what I don't know. I don't know your gifts, strengths, or talents because, as I said, I don't actually know you, but you know what your gifts, strengths, and talents are. and likely the people that you spend the majority of your time with. Think your family, your closest friends, and your colleagues. Here's what I know. I know that what connects us as human beings is that we all crave love. We want to be seen. We want to feel valued. We want to be respected, treated with dignity, and we want to belong. From the research I've done on organizational fit, employee success, and student success, that holds firmly and is universal. Here's what else I know. It is through the fulfilling of your purpose that you can achieve what you want. And that's really what transcending wishful thinking to wishful doing is all about. It's about achieving what you want. To arrive at wishful doing, you are required to do two things, and both of these things require vulnerability. First, you must surrender and accept and acknowledge that you are powerful. Second, you must be brutally honest with yourself about what you want. In other words, you need to trust and believe yourself. Once you surrender, you are on the precipice of unstoppability. You are primed and ready to go. Now, I'm sure you all know the adage or some version of it, watch your thoughts because your thoughts become words, watch your words for your words become actions, your actions become your habits, which become your character, and your character becomes your destiny. Well, it's true. And that, my friends, is the end of my no, I'm just kidding. So here's the thing. Once you surrender by trusting and believing yourself, you can be decisive about your thoughts. Thoughts require energy, so you want to be as expedient as possible by being decisive, or your thoughts will drain the necessary energy required to bring your thoughts to fruition. So if your thoughts don't serve you or your vision, let them go. But if they do, write them down and say them aloud. Now they exist. This is where your thoughts become words, and you can do this through affirmations or journaling, a vision board, any number of ways. But the thing is that this is a critical phase of the gestation period required to make your dreams come true. Next, you evaluate the why behind your thoughts and wants. You'll be most effective when there's alignment between your why and your innermost desires and purpose. If your why makes you proud, then you're on the right track. If it doesn't, then you have more work to do. I want to mention that the process of transcending wishful thinking to wishful doing, you can get stuck in a number of places. If you don't trust and believe yourself, you'll never get started. However, if you successfully move through surrender to accept your power and you're honest with yourself about what you want, your why will build momentum every single time. Now, when you get to the how, it does get a little trickier, I'm going to be honest with you. The how is where your words become actions, habits, and character. And it's in this phase that you can continue to build momentum, lose it, or get stuck. When you find yourself in the how phase, you are going to pick up the phone and you are going to call on 4 friends: commitment, discipline, focus, and patience. Now, I know this is where you're thinking, ugh, nobody wants to do that. Here's what I can tell you about these 4 friends in our very brief time together today. They are your ride and die friends, and they will not let you down so long as you honor and show up for them. Once you nail down your commitment through actionable steps, you're committed to practicing discipline, you're focused, and you are prepared to be patient and let time do its thing, you have one last decision to make: when to start. And herein lies the power of now to usher in your destiny. I mentioned earlier that my family is terrified of speaking their thoughts aloud around me because of my efficiency of bringing them to fruition. The reality is that my family is more of a why do today what can be done tomorrow kind of people. And I'm more of a why do tomorrow what can be done today kind of person. And it's really my dad's fault. He used to say, today is yesterday's tomorrow, and it's also tomorrow's yesterday. So, if you are asking yourself when to begin your journey of transcending wishful thinking to wishful doing, the answer is today. Thank you.